All right, good evening, everyone. This is the June 13th, 2022 meeting of the Village Environmental Policy Board for the Village of New Paltz. My name is Ted Nitza. I'm the chair of the Environmental Policy Board. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and share the agenda for this evening. In doing so, you'll note that we have an email address. For any questions, anyone who wants to contact us, feel free to send an email to the environment@villagenewpaltz.org. That gets to all of us, and we can respond accordingly. We are pleased to announce that the next meeting will be in person at the village on Plattekill Firehouse for the time being. So we look forward to that next week. We'll have opportunities for public comment. We do have a quorum for this evening, so I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, and then also allow the members of the Environmental Policy Board to introduce themselves if they'd like. Jonathan, why don't we start with you?
Hi, I'm John Kolb. I'm a Master's of Environmental Science and Policy student at Pace University, and also a member of the Village of New Paltz Environmental Policy Board. I'll pass it over to Rachel.
Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm on the Village of New Paltz Planning Board. I've been on the Environmental Board for, I don't know, I can't remember how many years, but it's close to 2 decades. I'm a little overwhelmed right now. A lot going on.
All right. Rachel also serves as the secretary for the Environmental Policy Board.
I do.
Yes. Alexa.
But I don't have it.
Hi, I'm Alexa. I'm the high school representative to the Environmental Policy Board, and I would turn my camera on, but my Wi-Fi isn't super great right now.
I've had problems with my Wi-Fi this evening too. Alexa, you are a senior this year, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Yes, Alexa is a high school representative, New Paltz High School, and a senior, and we're pleased to have her. Except for the introductions. At our meetings, we'll always have an opportunity for the public to comment. Like I said, next month we'll be in person. That may be a little bit easier. But in the meantime, again, use the email address if there's any environmental questions, comments, concerns that you want to get to. Next item is public hearings. We don't have any public hearings scheduled for this evening, which puts us into administrative actions. The agenda has been posted. It is up on the screens right now for everyone to see. I will entertain a motion for approval of the agenda if I could.
Second that.
Aye.
Hi.
It's been moved and seconded. Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor of approving the agenda as stated and presented in front of us, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
No.
Minutes. We don't have minutes that I'm aware of. Autumn, do we have any minutes?
Sorry, I don't think I forwarded you a final draft, so apologies, but I will include them for the next meeting. I did send a rough draft early on, but I don't know if I sent you a final. My apologies. I will not miss that for the next time.
No problem. We'll consider minutes for next time then. We don't have any claims that I'm aware of. How about announcements? Anyone have any environmentally related announcements for the community or community good? Autumn, anything from the mayor's office or the board of trustees in regards to announcements?
Sorry, I'm switching screens. There we go. Sorry, can you hear me, Ted? I can't find my screen.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I've got too many windows open. Sorry about that. There isn't a lot to report from the village board at this time, except for that you were awarded the contract to do the investigation on the lead service lines, which perhaps you want to speak about here.
I can talk about that under new business. Is pretty interesting.
There we go.
Safety issue. Okay. Okay, village planning board update discussions. Rachel, I was looking for the most recent village planning board agenda to help things along, but It's been a while since we talked about those items. Any updates for us, or do you want to put in projects?
Well, right now, we have been handed a giant draft environmental impact statement. It's, gigantic for a huge development. That's 750 units, 750 people, 750 beds, I guess, 250 units on the south side of the campus of SUNY New Paltz. And it is adjacent to some wetlands. Hold on a second, my dog is scratching to get out. And for some reason, I was told that I'm not supposed to share the DEIS or talk about it too much. And I'm somehow supposed to just sit there by myself and go through this huge document. But I couldn't find anywhere in seeker law or any place, and no one would show me a place that clearly delineates what I can and can't say. So I've been looking at the documents and just Googling is everything myself. And, talking about it insofar as, it's been public, there've been public hearings. It's been discussed now for 2 years. So, I know I can't be doing anything wrong in that regard. And the way that I'm approaching the campus, is that, in 2019, there was a large beaver impoundment on campus, and it created this incredible pond system, and with wetlands. And I believe that it did really increase it created an aquatic environment that really did increase the wildlife there, but they're no longer there. So I'm going to be just showing people. I'm going to do like a little tour thing on campus where I'm just going to show them here's where they lived and here's how the environment changed as a result of their activity. Because you can see now, you can see where the dead trees are. You can see where it's really sort of lush and wet where they once were. And but anyhow, this huge development, there are numerous environmental issues. It's being built on an orchard, and I was looking up some of that information. There's likely to be contaminants in the soil because of that. And I've been looking a lot of, data on that and Googling the different types of ameliorations that have had to be done as a result of developments being built on land like this before they did a remediation. So what I'm hoping is that, that we'll be able to take a look at this, logically and deal with some of the problems that could arise. Basically that, I guess you probably know more about this than I do, Ted, is that a lot of times in these situations, it's not like there are hot spots. And that's sort of like what they found with the developments that occur on land like this. That they're, for example, if there was a storage shed that had the, the arsenic or the DDT or whichever era pesticide was being used. And I think this is an historic orchard, so it probably does date back to when they did use those kinds of chemicals. That there are hot spots, and so my thinking was, well, why don't we address those? Like instead of doing this random, that's what they always do. Like they do this random thing where they just do test spots all over it. Instead, why not find out where there's likely to be hot spots and then remediate those? Like give special attention to contamination. And I didn't see anything in the DEIS. I'm going through it. I didn't see anything about this in the DEIS. Just that they've done a lot of soil testing and all the different types of soils that they found there. And I don't know. It's a lot. So this hearing that we're supposed to decide whether or not the scoping is complete vis-a-vis the DEIS, that's on October 4th. And then at that point, we'll have to, the planning board is going to vote on whether they think this is, complete enough. And then if it isn't, then they have 30 days to fix it. or to resubmit. So this project is moving along, and then there's so many other projects right now. It's unbelievable. I don't even know how many there are of apartment buildings that are getting built. So it's a big there's a lot of development. There's a lot of things coming. And so we have to get ready for it and try to figure out how New Paltz is gonna grow. Or does anyone have any comments or questions?
Well, you said the draft environmental impact statement
Yeah.
has been issued, and a lot of times, I think most times, the Environmental Policy Board is asked to look at it and comment on it if we have
Yes.
any comments or
Yeah.
concerns. So I think
Have
we
you-
as a board, we remain interested if that
Yes.
happens, or if we're able to have access to it, we can certainly review it and express some of our
Yeah.
concerns. The same thing on the town side with the Environmental Conservation Board.
Yes. Well, you're an interested party. And the other issue with it is the wetlands, because the town has a wetlands law, but the village doesn't. And the land is actually in the town, and they want to annex it to the village in order to get the sewer and water hookup. So it would seem logical that some protections should, I guess legally they don't, but logically the protection should carry over. And maybe that could be part of the annexation process where we say, hey, look, the town's more restrictive wetland laws should apply to this property. It just seems logical to me. But yes, you're an interested party in this. And I honestly do not know why you don't have a copy of the DEIS right now to be looking at it, and why we're supposed to judge whether it's complete to the scoping before anybody else looks at it in public. I just don't know. I keep asking.
Can I clarify that a little
Yes.
bit for you, Rachel? So, and Ted, thank you too for bringing this to my attention, because this is my first run with this process too. I'm completely new to it, so I'm learning how to go about it with Rachel as well. There
Well,
is
I've been through it before. I've just never
I've
been on this end of it.
Yeah, I'm new to this process. So there is one hard copy here in the building, and there is a digital copy which I believe could be made available. And I'll double check this with the planning board attorney as well, because I clerk those meetings. But at this stage of the game, the planning board needs to determine, yes, if what has been presented is suitable for public review. And if not, and more information is needed, then that's the next step that the applicant will need to take, depending on what the planning board decides, along with their consultants at the October 4th meeting. So
Right.
it does seem to me, based on everything we're discussing, that yes, Environmental Policy Board as a consultant to the planning board makes natural sense, and I don't believe that was brought to my attention properly till now. So I'll double check with the planning board attorney, and we'll get you both a digital copy and Ted a physical copy if you'd like to have a look at that.
I think just electronic copy would be fine.
Electronic fine. Okay. It is, and the reason that the attorney explained to me is that this document is so large. It's, as Rachel indicated, it's 3 volumes. It's an enormous document. So having it available before it's deemed complete for public review, we run the risk of confusing multiple versions with the public, and the point at which it's been accepted to be, or when it's been determined that it is available for the public to review and comment on, at that point, we can fully release it to the public and have it out in the world. But it's, as I understand it, a matter of how massive the document is and the potential for confusion for having 2 enormous documents to review, or potentially more than one enormous
Right.
document.
And I'm not talking about releasing it to the public. I'm just talking about asking somebody that knows more than I do about soil, for example, hey, can you look at this? Because I don't know if this is complete or not yet for the public. And I'm not even allowed to do that, they say, but I can't find that anywhere.
Okay.
I've been keeping
I'll be happy to speak with Ashley on, or have her give you a call too.
I just feel overwhelmed by it, and I'm looking at it, and a lot of this stuff, of course, is just boilerplate. You know what I mean? It's this is what's supposed to be in the document according to the blah, 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 and, the United States Department of the Interior, et cetera, et cetera. So it's that that stuff is there, but but they don't have the information yet that's supposed to be there. But some of it is filled in.
Okay.
Um,
And the I just want to note that the outside consultant that was approved for the review is Capital Environmental in Kingston. I think that's the right. I think that's the right. Capital Environmental in Kingston.
well, I mean, I feel like I should be able. I told them I wanted to go on a site visit with a knowledgeable person like that, or with the person who's, making judgments and decisions about this, so that I can see part of the process and understand how they arrived at it, and look with my own eyes, since we're being held responsible for this. So I feel like if I'm going to be held responsible for something, I want to actually look at it. I want to see it, and I want to have more than one opinion on whether it's correct.
Okay. I'll connect the dots between all of you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Rachel, just to say it another way, that Capital Engineering or whatever, those are the experts hired on behalf of the planning board to represent your interests or to be your technical resource for those.
So I can go. Please send me their contact information then on them if you could,
Yes.
so I can get a hold of them and just do this.
Will do.
And, Rachel, if you are able to schedule a site visit or whatever, if you could let the rest of us know if any of us are interested in going or wherever, we could, maybe I'll tag along also.
Sure. I'll find out about that. I mean, what I'm doing now isn't really a site visit. It's just a little walk on the campus. Just on the south end of the campus. It's near the micro farm. The micro farm has a really good view of the wetlands on that side of campus, which are part of I think a federal wetland.
Any other village planning board projects or things to speak of, Rachel?
Not that directly relate to the environment. Fortunately, like a lot of the apartment buildings that are going up now are on areas that are already like asphalt, I did hear about one in the town where they cut down a bunch of trees. I don't know if they cut those down or not. Do you know about that? I saw an article in New Paltz Times that said, oh, they cut down all these trees to put in a parking lot for a dispensary on Old 299.
Oh, I think the content of that article was saying that I don't remember specifically, but I do remember, but it's still going through the approval process or something.
Oh,
I don't.
okay. So basically, there's going to be two dispensaries then, because there's a zero, the bottom zero place is being turned into a dispensary too. And it looks like, from what I can see, that they're going to be doing a lot of nice plantings. There's putting a apartment building just across the street from that. And it looks like they're going to be doing a lot of nice plantings around it. The landscape architecture that we've been hearing about seems pretty conscientious and I think good so far.
All right. Across Mulberry or across Chestnut?
Across Mulberry, where all the New Paltz taxis park.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's going to be an apartment building there, and they're going to do landscaping around it.
All right. Any questions or anything for Rachel regarding the planning board? All right. The next item is the awareness collaboration report on the town's environmental conservation board. I serve on the town's board, and our meeting for the town is next week. So I don't have anything to update other than items been talked about lately. It's still been Trans Hudson and other projects along those lines in the town areas. Environmental Policy Board reports from officers. I cleared out this agenda item from things that we've been working on in the past. I thought it would give us an opportunity to talk about any of the other projects or things that we're on or we plan on working on from the Environmental Policy Board's perspective. I'll mention two that I'm aware of. One of them that August or one I talked about earlier, and that's the lead service line inventory for the town and the village areas. Flint, Michigan highlighted an issue with lead service lines in older homes, older parts of neighborhoods throughout the country, and the EPA is implementing a new rule that says that all public water systems, large, small, new, old, throughout the country, by 2024 need to have an accurate inventory of where lead service lines might be in their systems. As a result, most all drinking water systems will have to go through a process of creating that inventory, going and investigating not only the public side of the service line, but also the private side, the household side of that service line that gets into a house. I think it's important to note that just because you have a lead service line, it may not indicate that there's any problems with your water. As long as the chemistry and the corrosiveness and other conditions are favorable, then it's not an issue. The issue with Flint, Michigan only came after they changed the chemistry of the drinking water, and it became an issue. Nonetheless, it still represents a risk, and over time, they will be identified and removed from the systems throughout the country. The New Paltz town and village each submitted an application a couple weeks ago to make them eligible for assistance in creating those inventories in the first place, the first step of that. So we'll look for news in the future. It's not exactly an environmental issue, it's more of a public health issue. But it's still in the idea or the area of drinking water, so I thought it would be interesting to this group. The other thing is the Village New Paltz recently received a study of solar and energy storage device uses potential up at the reservoir on Mountain Rest Road. It's a mountain, of course, mountain area for us. Up in the hills has a lot of exposure for sunlight, and so the idea of using solar panels on the rooftop in the parking areas or even on the reservoir was identified for feasibility. It did come back favorably. The report's been turned over to the mayor for review and perhaps next steps. So those two things are environmentally pretty relevant to what's going on. Any other board members, policy board members, either things that they're working on or perhaps may work on in their future?
Well, I know me and Alex have been talking about it for literally months, but we're eventually going to get to that idling work. If she's not here tonight, but we've been meaning to get to it for a while now. I think we just have to get together and talk it over, and she's going to help with drafting and stuff like that. But we're still definitely working on that. These two other projects sound really exciting aside from that.
Yeah. So John, you guys have also asked for what kind of draft language we had going or that was going on the town's environmental conservation board side. And so I thoroughly looked into that, and we didn't actually have anything written down. But I can tell you what we did. We had found some sample language of idling laws in a nearby community. I think it was Newburgh or something, where generally it said idling would be limited to no more than 3 minutes, something like that. And I had a lot of definitions about what idling actually meant, what vehicles were included, what vehicles like ambulances were exempted, things like that. And the approach that the town, the committee that was looking into this issue on behalf of the town's environmental conservation board had come back with was reducing that 3 minutes to like 2 minutes or a minute and a half, something like that, to further curtail the event, and then also put some increased efforts into education outreach about the benefits of less idling, dispelling some of the myths of the dangers of not idling. Your car might not start, your battery might be drained, those kind of things. So I know it took us a long time too, but at the end of the day, we don't have any language. More so, it was concepts of further reducing what other communities already have in books. Any questions for
Great.
John?
No, that'll definitely give us plenty to go off of. That was great.
I had a question. How have you made any progress with sort of limiting the local municipality, like the town government and the village government, the police, the water cleaning machines, the DPW or whatever, about reducing their idling?
I haven't been in contact with them, but I think that's definitely an important step. I think a lot of the industrial trucks and stuff. I also think the bus stations, but especially a lot of the work vehicles that you see around town, the bigger trucks are typically tied to the DPW and things like that. So I do think that's a good idea and a necessary next step. We're still kind of in the preliminary phase. We've been meaning to get to it for a while now. It's just kind of been on the back burner, but I'm gonna contact Alex and we'll get into it, especially now that we got some ideas and some direction of where to take this.
Good.
Anyone else?
May I make a note? I just forwarded a document that I received from the Climate Smart task force that they're going to have a community outreach on October 11th at the community center, which
Yeah, that's what I'm
just
noticeably distracted
forward
by.
to the group right at that minute because I forgot. I only got the flyer today, and I wanted to make sure yesterday. I wanted to make sure that you had received that. So sorry to interrupt with that, but just to highlight it.
No, here in a minute. What I'm going to do is I'll share that on the screen here. Here. And then okay, well, hopefully you can see that flyer now as we go through the rest of the agenda. Any other report items, any questions? Next item is old business. Any old business? I will point out that we did get confirmation for our budget for this year. It remains $1,000 as it's been in the past, 500 of that for contractual services, which ends up being some of the support items of having this meeting and putting together the minutes and things like that. So we do have the opportunity, we talked about it a little bit last year, about investments that we could make on behalf of the community and in those environmental related kind of topics. This board, especially education outreach, coordination with other groups like SUNY in the town, those have been identified as the things for us to focus on in that regard. But we do have funding again for that this year, and keep in mind for as the year goes by. Okay, the next item is under new business is time and meeting schedule. So at this moment, it looks like our next meeting would be back in person and at the Village Hall in the former areas or the becoming former areas of the New Paltz Police Department in the first floor office areas. Much more accessible for the public, a little bit bigger, a little bit better accommodations for that, but that's where our meeting will be next week. And as long as we stay with the schedule, second Tuesday of the month at 5:30, that would be the venue moving forward. Do we know, can we make it hybrid, or would all of us need to be there in person or otherwise absent?
There are a set of conditions by which remote attendance is permitted. Illness, caregiving. There are two other conditions which are escaping me at the moment, but I'll be happy to forward that to you. But in order for for that to happen, you still need a quorum in person.
So we have a quorum, a basic quorum, and maybe one or two others. Well,
Yeah.
one that could, in an emergency or a otherwise acceptable situation, attend the meeting remotely. Otherwise, like I said, I would be in person, which would also give the public an opportunity to attend in person, as well as make public comments. Other new business items?
I just want to apologize for not taking care of the garden in front of Village Hall. When it did finally rain, but I haven't just done the follow-up with the person because people have been saying, oh, the fence, or I guess this is a while back, someone said, oh, can you take the fence down? Are the plants safe for the deer yet? Can you take the little fence down around the plants in front of Village Hall? And I don't know the answer to that. I also don't know if there's anything, like if anybody wants to try to help water it, or I think it actually survived fairly well, which is a good thing because it's supposed to be a xeriscape. It's supposed to survive, but you're sort of supposed to pamper it a little bit at first, and but I don't know, does anyone has any thoughts about that or wants to help with that? It would be really greatly appreciated.
Maybe a work day later on for the fall season to kind of clean it up, or watering. I mean, would it be, is there a spigot out there, or we need to bring a water bucket?
There's a spigot out there, but there's no like watering can or hose or anything. Like, I guess an old piece of hose with some holes in it could be put in there. I don't know if that's aesthetically pleasing enough. But it does appear to have survived. It appears to survive. I don't think it looks that bad. I don't know what anyone else thinks.
Well, it's been a dry, harsh summer. My lawn is now just, of course, it exploded over the weekend with the rain, but it has been dry and harsh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if anyone's interested, keep that in mind. Also, the paint swap is active in that area too, as well as the village pantry for food items that are there at all times. Any other items of interest for the Environmental Policy Board? Rachel, anything from SUNY? Campus groups as school starts?
I did. I actually went to the environmental task force meeting yesterday on campus. They've moved it to a new room. It's now in Worcester instead of the JFT, but it's still a nice conference space, but there's no, spectacular view. It was very sparsely attended. I think that they haven't gotten the word out yet. There was only one student there. And they're still planning to do the things that they do. They've been looking at various different speakers. I can't remember the names of any of them offhand. And they have the rights to a movie about plastic, which they bought during the pandemic, but they didn't have a chance to show it because there was nobody here. And so they're going to be showing that movie. And they were talking a lot about those containers that they have, that they've been trying to use those. They've been trying to use reusable to-go containers, and charging the students, $1 if they want to take the paper. But they found that it doesn't really get as much usage as they've hoped. But I guess every little bit counts. It's the same with the reusable coffee cups and the water bottles. That's sort of what they've been focusing on. And then, there's a sustainability committee on campus, and that's the kind of thing that they look at, trying to reduce the use of plastic and get students to be more conscientious.
Any questions for Rachel about that topic?
I don't know. They bought all these coffee cups. They told the students they were going to give them reusable coffee cups, and they only gave away a third of them because they didn't pick them up. So there's I guess there's not as much momentum or interest as you would hope there would be, I guess is the best way to put it.
Anything else for us this evening? Autumn, anything else we've missed?
That's pretty much everything in my notes.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I will, before we close this evening, just remind everyone that our next meeting would be Tuesday, October 11th at 5:30. And right now it would be in the firehouse and not online. We'll have an opportunity for the public to comment, for the public to attend, for us to be there in person. At all times, consider sending us an email at environment@villagenewpulse.org. We'll look forward to participating in the planning board processes and the other projects that are going on environmentally related here in the community of New Paltz. If there's not anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. This will then conclude the Village of New Paltz Environmental Policy Board for Tuesday, June 13th, 2022. Thank you all. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Take care, everyone.
Aye.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good